that you're here today. I'm going to talk about how to document your everyday life with meaningful words and photos. I want to start off by introducing myself. I'm Katie Nelson, and I'm known online as Katie the Creative Lady. I've been sharing ideas about modern memory keeping online for decades. I started with a small website in 1999, and I began my current blog in 2005. You can find me at katiethecreativelady.com. I've written thousands of posts, created thousands of layouts, taught online and in-person classes, and shared my ideas on several websites and in print and digital publications. I also love creating YouTube tutorials to help others understand how to make memory keeping more manageable and fun. I spend time every day recording my life in some form. The bottom line is I eat this stuff for breakfast. I love documenting everyday life, and I hope to help you feel that same joy and excitement about your own memories. Let's talk about how to document your everyday life with meaningful words and meaningful photos. What does this mean? Well, one thing that's terrific about the time we live in right now is that there are many great and easy ways to document our everyday lives. There's really no wrong or right way to be a modern memory keeper. What's important is that you find the method or methods that work best for you and that you find enjoyable. Yes, I believe you should enjoy the process. Otherwise, why even bother? So what format should you use? One person may prefer to scrapbook, while another might just enjoy updating a regular social media account. Others might prefer a journal. There are so many different formats now. I brainstormed about a few of the different methods I've used to record and share my words and photos, and I came up with this list. You might even think of other options. Here's what I thought of: scrapbooks, digital scrapbooks, photo books, photo albums, journal, planner, blog, newsletter, Instagram, Facebook. There's other social media posts as well. Letters and Word documents. It can be Google documents. All sorts can go on this list. I do want to mention one thing to remember, that if you're using a social media account like Instagram or Facebook to record your memories, these services usually compress the resolution of your photos. So you should be sure to save originals for your files. I believe in keeping it simple and achievable. Don't feel like you have to document everything. And documenting your everyday life just means taking time to record the regular little bits of life and not just the monumental moments. But you get to decide what's important and prioritize that. So here's the one thing I always keep in mind when it comes to documenting life. Photos plus words equals wonderful. And that's it. That's the magic formula. And that's the most important point that I really hope you will take away today. Really, photos combined with words do produce magic, and you can make that magic happen. So let's talk about photos. It's a great place to start. Photos are visual keepsakes of our life's people, places, and experiences. And of course, there's all types of photographers and photographs. Maybe you hardly even take any pictures, or maybe you don't have very many photos that you've inherited in your photo library because others haven't taken them. Now, if that's the case, I would encourage you to break the cycle. Start by taking a lot of photos. There's plenty of, quote, bad photos out there and oodles of mediocre ones, but many have what they would consider to be average photos. There's also photos taken for a specific reason, event or holiday. Some photos are for reminders or for special meaning. Photography is also an art form. With patience and practice, photographers can become very skilled. And there can be absolute joy in creating and capturing a fantastic photograph. There are plenty of ways to improve your photos with practice and all sorts of different apps, but that's not what I'm going to focus on today. Instead, I want to show you how you can use any photo, even the ones that are not award winners. Now, I believe there's no such thing as a, quote, bad photo. Of course, some photos are not technically viable. They're dark or blurry, but that's really not what I'm talking about here. I'm thinking about the photographs that we tell ourselves are not very good. But these photos still document our memories, and we can use them to create that magic formula. Now, it would be easy for me to label all the photos on this page as bad photos, but each one tells a story that's important to me, and I'm still going to use them. Here's a picture that might not be considered a great photograph. It's no offense to my mom, who took the picture back in 1982. She was working with the available technology of the time, and she couldn't see that she cut off part of my head until the picture came back from the developer. A lot of us would have thrown away a photo like that back then, but I'm really happy she didn't. Because the picture's from the early 1980s, it's grainy, and it's also a little blurry. On its own, it doesn't stand out as anything special. But look what happens when I add words. This photo comes to life. I'm going to read you the journaling so you can hear the story behind the photo. In the summer of 1982, my mom signed me up for a Wilton cake decorating class taught at the ZCMI department store. This was pretty exciting for me as a 13-year-old that I got to get dropped off for this class each week and play around with frosting. I fell in love with all the creative ways to decorate a cake. We bought a few cake decorating magazines called Wilton Yearbooks, and I spent hours browsing through the pages and planning all the cakes I would create. Our first assignment was using basic piping and star tips. This clown cake was the first cake I decorated on my own. It's rough around the edges, but I'm still proud of it. I found the idea in one of the yearbooks and replicated it. I thought using the lollipops as balloons in the clown's hands was especially fun. I later moved on to basket weave designs and even got pretty good at frosting roses. I attended 3 weeks of classes, but had to miss the 4th week because my grandma died and we went to Idaho for her funeral. I didn't mind missing the course, but interestingly, I always think about that when I look at this picture. I rarely use my cake decorating skills these days, but I have to admit I still love to look at pictures of exquisitely decorated cakes. It's really a yummy and fun art form. Flowers. I love taking pictures of flowers. They're so pretty, and they're very patient about posing. Now, I could take a few different approaches to add words to this photo. I could talk about the species of the flower or the location. I could also add an inspirational thought or quote, but I decided to give a little behind-the-scenes commentary on this one. Before iPhones and smartphones, people generally didn't have cameras with them all the time. However, I started carrying a small Sony point-and-shoot camera in my purse around 2006, so I was always ready to take a picture. While shopping at Home Depot for flowers for our yard, I decided to take out my camera and take photos of the beautiful inventory. Of course, I got some strange looks, which is funny to think about now, because it's not unusual to see someone with a smartphone taking pictures of just about anything. But back then, it was a bit unusual though. I'm so glad I didn't worry about the people around me, and that I not only took the time to smell the flowers, but also photographed them. Now, you don't have to include an entire story or explanation with every photo. It's going to be difficult to find the time and energy for that. So instead, I would encourage you to make an effort to document the more important and noteworthy stories in your life when possible. Then you can always do more. Almost every photo deserves a few words, and at the very minimum, a date and a title. Otherwise, the pictures become meaningless over time. Only a small handful of people will know who's in your photos, and even then, they probably won't know the date or the circumstances. So don't make people play the guessing game. So where is this? If you've been to this region, you might have some idea. I would have never been able to guess before I went there, and even now, I wouldn't be able to tell you the specific town without knowing. This was in Antwerp, Belgium, taken in 2019. It's important to at least give people the basic facts. It's a pretty cake, right? But whose birthday was it? Well, this was my mom's birthday in 2019. And of course, there's a lot more details to it, but these facts at least place the photo on life's timeline. If you've been here, maybe you think this photo subject's obvious. Anyone who knows this place well might recognize it, but not everyone has been there, so don't assume. At the bare minimum, include names or locations. It's also really important to add the date. But it gets a lot more interesting the more you include. So our family trip to Yellowstone was with my husband's entire family. Even though it was October, the weather was still beautiful. This was our first time going to Yellowstone with our kids. We celebrated my son's 17th birthday while we were there, and I took this photo with a brand new Nikon DSLR camera, and I was still getting used to using the big camera, so this was a perfect place to practice. When it comes to using words with your photos, remember the 5 W's that you learned about in school. These are great questions to answer to provide more information. They include who, what, when, where, and why. Now, I can almost hear some of you saying that you can't do this, and it is really easy to find excuses. It's easy to say I'm not a writer, or I'm not creative, or I'm not very good at spelling, or I don't have anything to say, or nobody would even really be interested. And would you believe me if I tell you that none of these things really matter? Because they don't. What really matters is telling your stories. And the great thing is, there are tools out there that help with every one of those fears and concerns. Remember to use your resources. Now, some people might enjoy writing out their journaling by hand, where others prefer to type on a keyboard. It's great that you can use dictation now, often through your phone. I use that all the time to record my thoughts. There's apps for journaling. There are websites. You can do some cheats like take pictures of signs or use articles from the internet to copy and paste some of the information to use for your journaling. Also, you have a lot of journaling sitting around in your life that you may not realize. What about emails that you've sent or received? There's journal entries that you might have made. Perhaps you could interview someone to find out the information. There are letters that go back and forth between us. Some of us write blog posts or post to social media accounts. I often use news stories to add details to my journaling. And there are great tools to help you become a better writer and to make your words more readable. Spell check is a great invention. I use a website all the time called Grammarly, and they also have an app. And that is really great for helping you understand where to place commas, check your spelling, check your sentence structure. It's great. So there's really no excuse anymore to say, I can't do this. But if you start to get overwhelmed, I really want you to go back to this magic formula that photos plus words equals wonderful. Now let's look at how to apply the formula to several different formats. This picture would have been easy enough to just post to Facebook. I could have just included this as a funny photo and it would have caught some people's eye. I took this picture in an ice cream shop, and it's my son and husband posing by the wall that said, "I scream, you scream." It's a funny photo, right? The end. But look what happens when I add just a few sentences. We went out for hand-rolled ice cream tonight, and Jeff told me I should pull out my phone and get ready to take a picture. He and Alex hammed it up with some screaming shots. Once they sat down, we got talking about the words on the wall, and he said, "That is totally your family's motto." I had to laugh and totally agree. My family has this habit of accidentally scaring each other, and then when one of us screams, it just sets off a chain reaction. Jeff said it's a terrifying experience. Well, I had a lot of great comments on that post, and people really loved the story as much as, or maybe even more than, the photo. Here's a photo I posted on Instagram earlier this year. I could have just put something simple in the caption area, like me in the kitchen or cooking up a storm, but I decided to take a different approach. I've done the majority of the cooking in our house in the more than 30 years we've been married, and I might have a total of 2 or 3 pictures of me in the kitchen. Even though I was rushing around to get dinner ready, I decided to hand the camera to my husband and ask him to take a photo of me. I need to remember to do that more often. I'm posting this as a reminder to all of you to get in the picture. Let's document our real lives and what we actually spend our time doing. It's meaningful. I had some great engagement on this post, and more importantly than that, I hope I inspired a few people by sharing my experience. All right, so here's an interesting twist. Look at the inverse situation. What if it's all words and no photos? So sometimes that is appropriate, but it's always more fun to have pictures with the writing when possible. So this is a blog post I shared a few years ago. And if someone had visited my blog that day and this was all they saw, they probably wouldn't be all that interested. It became much more captivating when I added a few photos that were related to the content. How about photo books or photo album pages and collages? There's nothing wrong with a fun grouping of photos like this. I even have a little title that ties it all together. Scenes of Summer. But it's so much more meaningful with words. Summer is for shaved ice, flowers, board games, nights on the patio, and just lying around. We usually go to the Utah Shakespeare Festival in Cedar City and also spend some time at the cabin. Some other favorites include kayaking on the lake, fishing, walks, s'mores by the fire pit, and singing along while Jeff plays the guitar. The best month of summer is usually June because it's not too hot yet and the flowers are just starting to really bloom. One of the things I love most about summer is being able to eat outside on the deck. Fresh fruits and veggies seem to taste so much better when it's warm outside. Farmers markets are also wonderful. We try to work on fun projects like Lego sets during the summer. I also dream of tackling my long reading to-do list each year, but never seem to get to it. Alex and I have many games we hope to play and are also planning on catching up on some TV series. Why do summers go by so quickly? I hope this one lasts a little longer. So now you know why each of these photos means something and why I would even choose to put them on the page. Which one would you rather have in your family album? Let's take a look at a few scrapbook layouts. Imagine each one of these without the combination of both words and photos. They are important to have together. A page like this wouldn't be very meaningful if it was just the photo. Don't forget the small moments. Documenting your everyday life means taking time to record the regular little bits of life and not just the really big monumental moments. So it's time to take action. I'm going to give you a little assignment, and I hope it's something that you will really do. Randomly choose one photo in your photo library. Don't overthink it, just go and pick one. Now show that picture to somebody else and tell them about it. Explain who or what is in the photo. Talk about any memories connected with it. Even if the image isn't about a specific memory, you might have something pop into your head. Now, if you don't have anyone to show the picture to, pretend you're sitting next to a new friend and want to explain that photograph to them. Now write any or all of that down, and that's your journaling. That's what makes the photo magical. The next step is to share that photo and your thoughts with someone else. You can do this in any format that works with you. Making an effort to share your assignment with someone else is an excellent way to see the impact of what you are doing. I bet your audience will enjoy it as well. So keep going. You're ready to document your life with both meaningful words and photos. If you want even more ideas, sign up for my free newsletter and get this free guide, 10 Tips for Meaningful Journaling. Be sure to visit me at katiethecreativelady.com for ongoing inspiration and ideas. You can also find my video tutorials on my YouTube channel, and all my social links are at the top of my site pages. I'm so glad you were here today. Your life is worth documenting, and I'm so excited for you to put together your own thoughts and photographs to create something magical.